Yo, when I spit bars in a rave, man, I go.
Fuck, I completely.
Yo, when I spit bars in a rave, man, I go.
Just say it's a long day, man. Say it's a long day.
Okay, cool. I realized what's going on. So I had it on in another browser. So I'm going to edit that out of the actual audio. So so people don't hear that. But anyway, good evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of the new Spurs Order pod. I don't know why I'm smiling. It's been a pretty horrendous 7 days for Spurs. I can't even lie to you. This is probably the lowest I felt since Conte has taken over the club. But I'm joined by two very reliable co-hosts. Tops, how you doing, brother?
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry, brother. Thanks for introducing me. Yeah, I'm doing all right, man. Not amazing about Spurs right now, but yeah, man, we'll get into that, man. We'll get into that.
Okay, fair enough. We will get into it. From time I see it's a short intro, then boy, man, they need to get some shit off their chest. Sting, what are you saying, man? Jack, it's been a while since we've been on a pod together, man. It's good to have my brother of destruction alongside me. What are you saying?
Sting is feeling stung right now after all this kerfuffle, all this brutal crap that we've got to take from, this club that we chose to somehow support, and through all these years, it's getting ridiculous now. I'm stuttering. I don't know what to say. let's just get into it, man.
Yeah. Let's get into it. Let's just dive straight into it, guys. Spurs have lost 2 consecutive home matches in the league. 1 to Southampton and 1 to Wolves. We didn't even score against Wolves. Third best defense in the league currently, and it showed against us because we couldn't break them down to save our lives. But I mean, it's always going to be difficult when we have players that have literally gifted Wolves 2 goals out of absolutely nothing. But anyway, let's get into it. First, let's talk about the lineups, man. What was everyone's thoughts on the lineup, the shape? I'll start with you, Tops. When you saw that team, were you expecting the shit show that eventually happened, or did you think that there was a more positive performance to have come from that team?
No, honestly, I wasn't expecting the shit show, to be honest with you. There were some changes that were made that I thought were kind of enforced. I definitely thought that Reguilon needed to come out. Højbjerg was, rightly taken out of the side as well. I was surprised that he kept Lucas in, all things considered. Lucas is in a bit of a bad run. Defensively, the back three, stayed the same with Dyer not being back ready. And interestingly, he brought in Cess, which I wasn't sure if it was because he wasn't happy with Reguilon's form, or it was just decided to chop and change it because of the number of games. So in many respects, like it looked fairly positive in terms of some of the changes he made, but I mean that was pretty much the only positive thing I could say, really.
Sorry, I was drinking my water. That's fair enough. Pretty objective view. I'm not gonna lie. I looked at the team and, like, word to Sai, I've tried to adopt Sai's approach of not really overanalyzing the squad now or the lineup, because listen, we're mudded. No matter what team he puts out, like our squad's not good, so there's not really going to be a team I'm happy with. But I'm not gonna lie, I was concerned when I saw the wing backs that we were playing. The right side is always going to be the right side because I'm always going to be concerned about that side just because of the personnel we have. But I was in dismay when I saw the left side. And I remember we were talking about it midweek. Shout out Ash. He was asking for Reguilon to be dropped after Southampton. And me and Jack, it's like literally twin telepathy, even though he's not my twin. And I've actually got a twin. the exact same thing I commented. Jack must have commented on it like a minute later without even knowing what I commented because he's asked. People are now asking for Sessegnon to start, and I said, on what basis? What basis should Sessegnon be starting ahead of Reguilon?
It baffles me. It's again what you've been saying before last week about the savior complex. What it's where we live in a society where everything's hyper polarized. It's one versus the other. It's you got to pit people or things against each other, and that's what Spurs fans are doing right now. It's no, what was it last season? Who was it? Lamella versus Mora, and
Lucas,
always
yeah, go on.
yeah, Doherty versus Chicken Royale. It's mad. It's absolutely mad, and I don't know what to say about it. When you ask about what the lineup is, it's like, meh. No matter what lineup, whether it's the strongest possible lineup, weakest possible lineup, it's still crap. Ultimately, it's still not good. It's still not going to be good enough. I mean, you can say have three in midfield against Wolves and whatnot because relieve the pressure on the sitting two because Wolves do have midfielders who want the ball, who play with the ball, who like to play around, who like to play out wide a lot. And, it doesn't really matter who we have because the personnel, or what we play, because the personnel that we will start with won't be good enough to counteract Wolves. Wolves? Are you? This ain't like prime Real Madrid. This is Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Bro. We should be beating Wolves at home. Like I'll say this, even with a pissy poor squad, we should be beating Wolves at home.
Well, we absolutely should be, man. I mean, if we're looking at the game from a statistical standpoint, bar the two mistakes, we had the most shots, we had the most possession, we had the most corners, we had the most chances. Sometimes in these sort of games, which are going to be tight, you just can't account for your goalkeeper or your defenders making stupid goal-bearing errors on the team that put you back at a loss. On another day, that's probably a draw. And another day, we maybe even win that because of the quality of the chances that we had. And we were literally just wasting chances. But by then, the damage is done.
Yeah.
2-0 in that first half. The morale's already quite low. The rapport that the players are going to have with the fans is going to be very, very low. It was, once those two goals went in, it was almost curtains. Despite us trying to get back into the game, it almost felt like it was curtains.
Yeah, I think with for me, looking at the game itself, yeah, in the first half, I just you can imagine my shock, right? When I'm seeing these players do unspeakable things on this pitch to put us in danger. Like I'm there rolling my eyes every 30 seconds because it felt like every other minute we were making a mistake. I don't know what was you lot's take on that because it was
no, absolutely, Tom. Sorry, Jack, to just jump in there. I mean, I know sometimes I just feel like a broken record when it comes to this sort of stuff because if it's not the defenders, it's the wing backs. If it's not the wing backs, it's the goalkeeper. This week, I saw a stat about Azpilicueta, who has gone through a period of time, maybe a season or something, where he has never personally contributed to a mistake where a goal has been scored against Chelsea in their team. Why is it every single week? If it's not Royale, it's Sanchez. If it's not Sanchez, it's Davies. If it's not Davies, like this weekend, it was Lloris. Like even in the first half, I kind of felt sorry for Cesc because the way Davies was defending on that flank, he was completely handicapping him. And in the end, he's the one that got dragged off because obviously the shape wasn't working and the mistakes had been made by Lloris and the defence hadn't managed to clear the ball away. I know it's a top level and I know it's players who have played at this level for a long time, but it's just so difficult when every week it seems to be a separate person who seems to be making these stupid mistakes which can't be accounted for. It's one thing to say youth, inexperience, but it's another one to say players who have a century of Premier League games,
yeah,
international experience that are making mistakes week on, week out.
Yep.
Don't know.
And I know, Jack, I'm going to bring you in here because we have to talk about Lloris, right? We have to talk about Hugo Lloris. And you know I've got a lot of time for Lloris. We've spoken high. This is a podcast that actually, I would say, that actually appreciate the work that Lloris has done. And we know what type of goalkeeper he is like for the most part. But why is it that no matter how sick Lloris is playing, because he has been sick this season, why is it that he's almost, in fact, it is a banker that we have like 1 or 2 games where he just throws the game for us. And it always happens coincidentally in this January, February period. It's like clockwork. It is like clockwork, and I don't understand it.
I can give you the answer in a song lyric. Blame it on the alcohol. That's what it is. The guy's drunk. I do you know what? I think there's it's probably his missus' birthday around this time or something like that. He is getting smashed week in, week out. I don't know. I just, part of me thinks that he needs to be at a certain level of concentration to be on top form like he has been all season. And the moment that concentration goes away from 98%, that's it. He's either he's a 0 to 100 goalkeeper, I think, is either really, really immense for us, as he has been. But when he's not, absolute calamity. An absolute calamity. He is the epitome of a very polarized keeper. He's both extremes of the spectrum. He will be amazing for us. He'll cost us. And that's what causes a divide about Hugo Lloris himself, because he'll save us so many points, but he will cost us points as well. I can't explain why. I don't know. I'm thinking it is the liquor side of things. That's
I've got a theory. I think Lloris has got a very sort of mild case of a contagious disease in our squad. It's called the Bozovirus. It's called the Bozovirus. And Lloris has got a mild case in it. And the reason why I say it's mild is because even though it's not high in frequency, it's not uncommon. So it's there season on, season out. It's like a common cold. You know you're going to catch a cold at least once or twice a year. Yeah?
Yeah.
And then the rest of our team, they have a severe case of the Bozovirus where they literally are, they're like babies. Literally like babies. See how babies, they get sick every other week. These fools make the same mistakes over and over and over again. That genus analysis on Davinson Sanchez was scary because the guy had no Wolves player near him for around 17 yards. You are literally under no pressure. And somehow you have given the ball away to Wolves and they're in on goal.
It's remarkable. It's
scary.
Remarkable. Like time to receive the ball. You see the ball's coming. Time to track the ball. Time to decide where you're going to make, what decision you're going to make. And still, with no one actively pressing you, you give the ball up. Like, how do you account for stuff like this? It's just...
It's match fixing. It's match fixing. He knows what he's doing. It's got to be match fixing, surely. If it ain't the Bozo gene, it's got to be that.
Like, but Pops, you said, how do you count for this? You can't. You actually can't legislate for this nonsense. And as much as we didn't like Mourinho, because we didn't, like, eventually it showed in certain matches we were playing where you're like, this is like, you can't even put this on the manager. I look at games under Jose last year. I look at Newcastle. I look at Everton. Both games we played against Everton at Goodison Park. I look at Liverpool. I look at Chelsea. Yeah, the performance over 90 minutes, that's on the manager. But the mistakes that were seen in those games, giving away dumb penalties, literally just not catching the ball, not trying to press a player, just passing the ball to the opposition. You can't legislate for these mistakes.
You can't. I mean, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to defend against that? Like, you know, you see last week against Saints, Davies, all of a sudden all over the place. You get this week, Lloris completely all over the shop, defenders all over the shop for the second goal. I mean, it's difficult because, you know, obviously people make mistakes, but after a while, if it starts happening repetitively and regularly, and it's important in games that actually matter. You know, I like it's defeatist, but I'll think about the City game and think, fine, we'll probably lose that. But I want my team to perform and be concentrating in the games that matter. The Saints at home, the Wolves at home, and these are the ones that we can't seem to just put it together. I mean, it's difficult as well because Conte must be trying to do as much as he can on the training pitch to get these guys. And you know, they touch pitch Sunday afternoon, Wednesday evening, and you're right, Bozo gene just activates, man.
It's disgusting, man. It's absolutely disgusting. Yeah. So we've spoken about Lloris. Like, it's scary that Lloris can do that shit in such a high pressure game as our captain, and just cost us the game. But we've been in this situation before, Lloris. It happens, and it's just not on. But it's scary that Lloris is literally the last of our problems. We're speaking about a game where he's cost us 3 points, and he is literally the last of our problems, which tells you how bad the squad is. Now let's get into the actual gameplay, because you mentioned it briefly, Jack. We went with yet another two-man midfield, and for yet another game, we were overrun in the midfield in central areas until Conte made that switch after we were 2-0 down and brought on Kulusevski to play in the 10 and took off Sessegnon. So went 4-2-3-1. So I think that's the first time Conte's actually played the 4-2-3-1 for Spurs. What were your thoughts on the midfield two? And do you think it's now time for Antonio Conte to go with a three-man midfield? And by three-man midfield, would you like to see the double pivot followed by a 10, or would you just like to see a midfield three?
For me, a double pivot with the 10 is probably the most feasible in terms of protecting those bozos at the back, and depending on who the number 10 is as well. And I think that has to be Kulu. Just got to try him there. So I think having him drop as deep as he can, whilst being able to try and get into good positions across the front three maybe, and drift around. I think that might suit Kulu more. And I think just having Bentancur and whoever out of PEH and Winks, I mean, I can't decide on. It's like choosing whether you exactly. It's like choosing whether you want to drink piss or eat shit. Doesn't matter. It's just both crap. But yeah, I think something like that. You need to maximize the midfield. You need to. That's an absolute weakness of ours. You know, I remember what was the expression said? We're Bagel FC or something. Just nothing in the middle. I think we're like a half-eaten donut now, to be honest, because there's nothing at the back either. It's bad. It's absolutely bad. And yeah, we need to pack the midfield. Packing the midfield is probably the most viable option from there on. And I think that's probably the only criticism I can give Conte, because I think maybe he overestimated or underestimated how much better other midfielders are compared to ours. So yeah, I think we go with that. But Kulu, number 10, again, I'm not convinced of that signing yet. I'm not gonna shit on him, but what I will
Not
say,
yet, anyway.
not yet. But it's gonna. I can see. The inevitable's gonna happen. I think pretty much I got a 99% hit ratio. Honestly, almost everyone I've said that's going to be shit. It's been shit. So I'm gonna stick with my guns here, to be honest, because that cameo wasn't good. That cameo was not.
I think he's going to
not
prove you
good at
wrong.
all.
I like Kulu, man.
I hope so. But listen, we're addicted to you know how certain men and women, they're attracted to a certain kind of the opposite gender or whatnot who are always shitty to them, but yet they still keep going back. That's what we do. We're just attracted to bozos. We're just attracted to bozos, and yeah, I don't know. Every topic we have, I end up ranting. So Just move away slowly.
Yeah, tops. Anything else in addition to the three that you think Conte can do better? Because a lot of people, well, I say a lot of people, a few people I've spoken to are now actively saying that he should adopt a four at the back. But me personally, I think we've actually looked way more secure defensively with a back three, as much as we can, because we've got clowns at the back. But what's your view on a back four versus a back five?
I mean, my only issue with playing a back four is that I just don't feel that we have defenders competent to play well in a back four. I don't feel like I trust any of my right fullbacks to go forward or even defend in a back four. Of the centre backs, I do trust Dyer and I do trust Romero, but it seems like Conte seems to favour playing a back three, which kind of also, protects Dyer a bit. It protects Davies and obviously Sanchez, who's playing there right now. But on that left side, Cesc isn't very good at either. And honestly, Reguilon probably isn't very good at either. So he's probably best placed keeping that tactic. I do agree. I feel like I think we should start to adopt a middle three. I just feel like currently with the kind of profile of players that we have in there, although we let players go, it doesn't look like we've got like a massive amount of depth there. Once you have Højbjerg out of form and once you have Skip injured, it does look a lot tighter than it once was. I mean, I'm a big Skip fan, and I just didn't. It's now making me realise how important he is to the team. Not having him in there.
Can I stop you there, Tom? So
yeah,
I think this is the one thing that we spoke about. I remember before a ball was kicked, we spoke about it on this very podcast, and I think now to the point that I was making around the savior complex thing, it's like there is so much pressure now being put on Oliver Skip's shoulders to come into this midfield simply because of how bad the reliable player, I say reliable, Højbjerg is meant to be reliable, the experienced players have been, or they are. Like, I think it's a lot of pressure. Even Dyer, I don't rate Dyer highly, but admittedly, he's probably not as bad as I say he is based on this season's evidence. But again, a lot of pressure on him and Skip. What, they come back into the team, and what is everything just meant to just revert back to a good time, a good period? I feel like with Spurs, we do this thing where we are basically hinging, and it's not a thing that you do. I think it's just generally because of the lack of quality in our team throughout.
This is it.
We're always having to bank on like maybe 3-4 players to just drag the rest, and it's like, how can 3-4 players have to constantly carry passengers? It's never going to work. Spurs are never going to achieve anything or progress long term if we constantly have passengers, not only on the bench, but in the starting 11. We have passengers in the starting 11.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And again, this is a situation that we also kind of knew was going to be the case at the beginning of the season. Skip was never meant to be a starting first team player. We always knew that he was going to be surplus to players who are already experienced. Some players have stayed, some players have gone, and still the ones that we have are still not really performing. I wouldn't say at the level, but they're just not performing at the level that we need them to. And it's almost as if you need someone like him who has like a calming nature, who is technically proficient, who is a hard worker, things that you just want that are basics in like a first team 11, especially in midfield. And we're not getting that from some of the guys right now. I don't know. It's hard not to feel like somewhat like dejected, and because some of these midfielders, I mean, and I said it before, experienced bodies, and I won't emphasize it anymore. Experienced bodies who've played at international level, who have, half a ton, more than a ton of Premier League experience. and we're still asking for more and more and more from these guys. Like, maybe as well, we should also just admit that what's being asked of them from a Conte perspective just isn't capable. They're just not capable of doing.
There's not much. There's not much in their remit, which is ridiculous. We don't have specialists. We don't have versatile players. I question what a lot of these guys work on, if they're working on it, because I can't imagine a Emerson Royale crossing session. I can't imagine how many targets he's hitting.
We've seen it in the warm-ups. So whenever get to a game, maybe 30 minutes before kickoff, and you'll see him practicing crosses.
I'm sorry, I find that incredible. I find that utterly incredible. A 22-year-old who's probably played football from the age of 17, 18 is being coached at this point in his career to cross as a fullback, as a wingback, that's incredible to me. I'm sorry, it's incredible.
Anyway, before we move on to Conte's explosive comments this week, I want to zero in on the midfield because I want to mention a certain midfielder. I got to mention him because, listen, it wasn't just members of our pod; it was also members on Twitter. They said, "Drop Højbjerg. Let's get Skip. Let's get Harry Winks in." And credit to Harry Winks, who's actually playing relatively well for a couple of weeks. And I guess since Brighton, what we've seen is exactly why Harry Winks has struggled to claim a first team spot at Spurs. We saw a pretty dismal performance in the second half against Brighton, him and Højbjerg. Then they followed that up with another shocking performance against Southampton, him and Højbjerg again. So we then tried Winks and Bentancur. For me, it was noticeable who was a reasonable performer on the day and who wasn't. Antonio Conte, of course, came out in after the game and said that he was happy with Winks and Bentancur's performance, but Conte's also said a lot of crazy shit. He said Eric Dyer's got potential to be one of the best centre-backs in the world and Davinson Sanchez is showing quality potential. The point I'm making is this. I want to see the same energy kept. I want to see the same energy kept for Harry Winks. I'm sorry. The guy isn't good enough to be a starter at Spurs. He just isn't.
Yeah, sigh, Owen.
The only reason why he is even back into the fold is because Antonio Conte wants to keep him. And as we've spoken on this pod, whatever Antonio Conte wants, we got to shut up and take. But if I had it my way, he'd be out the door. One of our own hype. He's dead. Dead. Dude.
Boy band hype. This guy is. Yeah, I've been critical. I've been vocal about him, so I don't need to keep repeating myself. I'm sounding like a broken record myself. All of our midfielders, PH, Winks, they're never going to be good enough. They're not good enough passers of the ball. They're not good enough. They're definitely not progressors of the ball at all. Either way. Højbjerg had 3 good months with us, and the other 15, 16 months he's been horrible. That's all I'm saying. You can't say he's been good for us when he's been for 70-80% of the time he's been at Spurs. He's been terrible.
That's fair. He's 2021 as a whole, and even 2022 he's been poor. He's been very poor.
Winks for 4 years. He's had a good few months at the club, but that's about it. That's an even worse ratio in my eyes. So yeah, Oliver Skip again, the savior complex. I don't want to put pressure on this guy, and do you know what? I was like, we need a midfielder. Skip isn't someone we should be starting every game. He shouldn't be a regular starter. He should be a squaddie at most for the level we want to be at. He's impressed me though. He's impressed me with his performances, with his commitment and his competence on the pitch. But equally, he's not going to play well every game, and people are going to get onto him as well. And, you know, and that's because of the pressure you're putting on him. That's because of the reliance you're putting on a guy who's, only 22 years old. I think fans are a massive problem. I mean, they play a massive role in what, who stays at the club or who's liked at the club even. I think Dele Alli being at the club for this long, after all that love for him that he had over the years, I just didn't get it. I just didn't get it. And all the tears of pain after he left, it just bamboozled me. Just seeing 3 years worth of crap, being overshadowed by rose-tinted glasses, it just bewilders me. But hey, I guess we're in the minority.
Well said. Listen, Winks wasn't even the worst performer. Wasn't the worst performer of the day. For me, that was Lloris. Lloris, hands down, donkey of the day. He cost us those 3 points. But I've got to look at other players. I've got to look at Sanchez. What a horrible centre-back he is. I'm sorry. It's scary that once upon a time I used to actually like this guy. What a horrible centre-back he is. And it's like, no matter what team we play, our right side is basically open season. If it's not Chicken Royale and Sanchez, it's Chicken Royale and Tanganga, or it's flipping Matt Doherty and Sanchez. It's just scary. It's absolutely scary. It really, really is scary. That Doherty guy, my goodness, bro. Yeah, it's like playing with 10 men. No word of lie. It's like playing with 10 men.
You said his name. You said his name.
Yeah, shit. I should stop saying his name.
We need to remember
Matthew.
Number two. Number two
of Matthew. Big up Tommy Castillo for the super chat as well. He says Conte says he's happy with their performances because he knows that's all they are capable of doing. He knows they are not good enough for the club. Okay, cheers for that. S Wade says Betis got rid of Emerson and they're in 1 foot. They're 1 foot in a Copa del Rey final and Europa League knockout rounds. Boy, make of that what you will.
I think that's a big reason.
Make of that what you will. But guys, let's actually move on now to what's been yet another eventful week in the land that is Spurs Twitter and Spurs news. Antonio Conte, for those who are listening or watching, Antonio Conte gave an interview to Sky Italia, probably yesterday, I think, or it came out yesterday anyway, and he made a lot of statements about Spurs, Some people took what he said out of context, but guys, have you seen the interview? Tops, have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've watched it a couple of times. Yeah, I mean, like as I've got older, definitely I've become disillusioned as a Spurs fan, and because of that, I've started to take a bit more of a. Although when I get to games, I am a bit of a passion merchant, but when I think about all things Spurs, I am becoming kind of like laboured and fairly measured in like the way I see things. And I don't know, even before the Twitter rage that everybody seemed to, to be taking upon, I just felt like he was just spitting hard, cold, platonic facts. I just felt like a lot of what he said, he was just saying things that were like completely true. We've heard in the past, for instance, Paratici talk about our transfer model, how we want to sign young, prospective players with good potential. Conte said that's the kind of players that we are signing, and that's how we go. He talked about us losing players. We literally did lose players numerically. We let go of 4. We brought in 2. I mean, he also speaks all the time about Tottenham being emotional, and he wants people to behave in a way that is more stable. And I just feel like right now at the club, everything is so up and down, And because people have such different agendas, you know, and when I say that, I mean literally things like people being unhappy about the performances, people wanting to put their rage up at Enick and Daniel Levy, people not happy with the way that we're playing, or even people not being happy at Paratici and what he did in January. I mean, a lot of this stuff is true, but I just feel that the way Conte maybe puts it out, because maybe it's quite refreshing to us, or it's not refreshing if you don't like how he's putting it, but he's just saying things that I believe to just be true. And maybe that's why people seem to be taking it so weirdly. Like I think one of the comments that came out was something like the club seemed to be quite surprised about some of the contents of the interview, which, in my opinion, it's either maybe they've interpreted it wrong, or the club are so muddied that they are failing to see what is so clear and obvious in front of their eyes. I don't know. It was. I've always thought Conte to be a hard-hitting person. He's very honest. He's very frank. He has been at Chelsea. He was at Inter, and now at Tottenham. You know, like if you read the interview, you know he speaks about not just the negative stuff. He speaks about being happy at Tottenham. He knows exactly the job that is in front of him. He knows exactly the situation that he's been involved in, and he just wants us to work towards the same goal. I know there's comments about him saying the 1% that he has to give, where he kind of feels like that would normally be enough for him at other clubs. But you have to understand, this is a manager who's also managed at the top level and been given the top amount of resources to do his job. He's obviously come to Spurs, and maybe it's had to give him a bit of a realization that, okay, this team is not at the level, this club really isn't at the level that I thought it was. But again, it also seems to me that this is a challenge that he has been very well prepped on, and he is willing to take on.
Yeah, well said. Well said. I think that's the one thing that most Spurs fans I speak to appreciate about Conte, which is his honesty. Too many times we've had managers who are in a sort of halfway house where they're stuck between sort of protecting their own interests at the club and calling a spade a spade. We had Pochettino, who would be a bit inconsistent. He would call for backing. He'd call for a lot of backing, but at times maybe he was guilty of letting the board off the hook. You had Jose Mourinho, who everyone thought would be what Conte is now, and he was anything but that. So, me personally, surely we should be happy that there's a manager at the club who's actually going to call out the issues that fans are constantly complaining about. I don't know, Jack. What's your view on the interview? Because I see a lot of people tweeting saying, "Why is he always moaning? This is his job. You're getting paid 18 million a year. This, that, and the other." What's your take on his interview and comments like that? You're on mute, mate.
Oh shit. I think for the interview itself, I think there was probably maybe a slight translation sort of discrepancy in terms of how he said things. I still think he meant what he said, but he tried to say it in the nicest way possible. And I think, as you know, as British people, we sort of mince our words compared to people from other parts of the world. I think we're quite softly spoken in comparison. So that might have hurt a few feelings within the fan base. Definitely the tribal happy clappers, the Daniel Levy penis munchers out there. They were definitely hurt the most. That was like a dagger to the heart for them. Like they, I'm sure they're still crying to this minute, probably. But as far as the comments and it's like, what did you expect? Do you expect Conte to turn this team into a title/trophy winning side all of a sudden? Like, the excitement I got from Conte being manager wasn't the actual footballing side this season. I wrote the season off. I thought, let Conte get his players. The reason why I was looking forward to him is because of things like this, because of interviews like this, where he's just talking out loud about the club, about the board. And opening, a few eyes maybe across the fan base, and hopefully opening a few eyes on the board as well. That's the thing that I look forward to the most. And for me, the hiring of Antonio Conte was a win-win in my eyes. If we, he does well, we win trophies, we go for title challenges. That's a win for us. If he walks out in, with a burst of emotion, that will expose the club a lot more, and that will, put a lot more fans on. There'll be a lot more tension within the fan base, which is what we need. I think a lot of people need to kick up the backside and need to actually see what's happening, because there's quite a myopic mindset within this fan base that we have. So either way, that's what I looked forward to when we signed him, when we hired him. The footballing side of things, just write it off. He's right. This guy's a winner. This guy's won more, infinite amount more trophies than any manager under Daniel Levy has under his tenure. So who am I going to side with? Because I know who I know who.
Facts.
Big facts, man. And like one thing as well that I also kind of feel that I don't know, because of the nature of our fan base, it is very flip floppy. Like, we have to take into account that he's taken on a team, 10, 11 games into a season. And in many respects, it kind of reminds me of the beginning of Poch's tenure at Spurs. He had a lot of players who didn't really want to be there. He had to kind of get rid of players in the summer that he did. He had all that issues with, Kabul. We didn't really get that many points in the first sort of period. And we had lots of issues, it looked to me, like with our style of play. But then, given the summer, given a clear out, given the start of a season with a decent sort of pre-season, it would appear that things did improve. And obviously the following 2 seasons, we literally got our highest Premier League like points tallies in our history. So I just kind of feel that we shouldn't be too straight down his neck. But then you also have to believe as well, and I said this in the group as well, there's 2 things that I do still feel that have to be kind of taken into account. The first thing is that you're a top coach, so you have to be able to get the best out of the players that are literally given to you, because you have been a top coach in other teams. You have improved players. You have shown that your style is a winning formula. But I also think as well, he has to be very clear on his position, because as a manager, he signed a 12-month contract or 18-month contract with the potential to extend. And whilst you want us to have a clear idea of where we're going, because, we're not that experienced, we're low on confidence, we've not really been doing well in the last few years, you can't also then expect us to suddenly drop 100, 150 million when we don't even know what your future is, So we kind of, as a club, need to know that if you want us to be in with this, then we also need to, have some clarification that you'll be into this. Personally, I don't think he'll walk, but the one thing that I think will be important this summer is, will he be given the money? Will he be given the backing to really remodel the squad and really get the team to where he wants it to be?
I think with that one, and this will be the last thing before we move on to sort of the Man City preview, is I think the reason why we shouldn't be so reluctant to give him money is, although he doesn't have a great record with his buys, he has a great record at winning. He's a winner. When he speaks, you listen, because you are speaking to someone who's been doing this, who's been winning for a decade straight. This isn't some chump from across the road. This isn't some mid-level manager. No disrespect to Nuno. Nuno isn't even a bad manager, but he clearly wasn't good enough to do the bare basics that we needed to as a football side at this level. He wasn't. Now compare that to a proven winner. I personally see it as arrogance. I see it as arrogance from our hierarchy, our board, to bring in a man of his stature, his experience, and for him to accept the offer, and essentially you tell him that he's got to work he's got to work under your conditions. You see how nonsensical that is. You want him to work under your conditions that have not worked, that have not bared any fruit for Spurs in recent years. It's not worked. The whole point of getting a manager like Antonio Conte is so we can move differently. And I don't know whether they've done their research or not, but you made a point, Tops, around how they're surprised by the interview. Why are they surprised? Granted, when you read the actual full transcript and words aren't taken out of context and stuff like that, the interview actually it's not even bad at all. He's just speaking truthfully, and he's actually been he's even complimentary of Spurs and their journey between now and the next couple of years. But he's not going to lie about the current situation, and he's not meant to lie about the state of the squad. So, whilst Levy's surprised, he needs to get his head screwed on and realize what type of manager he's dealing with. This isn't a manager who is going to put up with your bullshit and be happy that he's having to work with shit players like Emerson and Matt Doherty, when he clearly highlighted that as a problem position. I don't know, man. It's just too many people at Spurs. They need a reality check. What do you think is going to happen if you go the way he wants to go versus the way you want to go? What's more likely to bring success?
This is it. And I think it's been a consistent model that's consistently failed in bringing what we as fans want to bring, for sure. And it is just short-termism, I think. I think a very small part of me is like, the hiring of Antonio Conte was just short-term appeasement for the fans, because we were muddled with the choice of managers that we had. Because no matter whoever became manager after Nuno, outside of Conte, it would have been curtains. It would have been, curtains in terms of what fans thought.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that's not the case, because especially when, Antonio Conte said himself, he's looking forward to, he's happy with the way things are working ultimately. And that tweet from Fabrizio also said that we've got big plans in the summer. Who knows? Got to see it to believe it. But there's got to be a reason, and I think there's got to be some kind of assurances he has been given to suggest there might be something, not in the pipeline, because I know this board. I don't think that's going to happen, but there's going to be some players, some important positions that will be covered, but it won't be enough. It won't be enough. I thought in January we had buying 2 players, from a top club like Juve is bigger than most, January windows that any club could have. But the problem is, relative to our situation, it's nowhere near enough. It's nowhere near enough.
Yeah, it literally.
And this summer, I think we can sign 6-7 players. I still don't think that's enough. I still don't think that will be. Well, actually, 6 or 7 might cut it. But in terms of a squad, having a squad,
6 or 7 would. But I get the point you're making. It's the fact that they constantly keep fucking up and making the job that they have to do bigger and bigger. A club who already have their affairs in order would only need to sort of refresh their team with maybe 1, 2, maybe even 3 players per summer. But no, with Spurs, every single, you notice now, for the past 3-4 years, every single summer, a big summer, Spurs need to do X, Y, Z, because there's just so much to do.
And in 2017, we weren't in that position. We were in a position where a couple quality players that would fit into the role would have been fine. And then the following year, 2018, just another couple more. It would have been fine. That would have been a good phasing out and phasing in of players. But what happened? We signed Sissoko in 2017. We signed Sissoko in 2016. Then we signed David Sanchez for 42 mil. That's money laundering right there. And 2018, well, we know what happened in 2018. And then obviously 2019, every single signing turned out to be an absolute Are they? Are any of them still there apart from Cess?
It's just says
It's
Jack
just Cess.
Yeah, Jack Clark's on loan,
Rest are on
Sunderland, and Cess is there now. Yeah, but Cess is getting no time, man.
Word to
Yeah.
Yao, sus.
Ryan Truss, yeah. Anyway, listen, good chat on the Conte interview. I think it's
Yeah,
interesting
man.
to see Spurs Twitter and everyone's opinions on the interview, but I think the majority of tweets I've seen are pretty much aligned in their thinking, and they think this is a positive thing. It's good that we have someone that shakes and ruffles feathers. Moving on swiftly then on to Man City, because of course we got Man City coming up next Saturday, 5:30 kickoff. Guys, I'm not really going to try and speak too much on this because I don't want to pain in detail. But this is a day out for me and you, Jack, isn't it?
It's a day out, man. It's a day
Day
out.
out, man. Day out in Manchester. Me, Jack, and some of the lads grab a pint, maybe a pie.
Yeah.
Curry,
We'll do that.
chicken curry pie, and then
Yeah, I'm down.
and then heading to the ground. But honestly, all jokes aside, we're gonna get absolutely flogged, aren't we? Like?
Yeah, man. At the end of the day, this is a team 13 unbeaten in the league. Last lost the game in beginning of December. Last lost in the league in October. Let's just enjoy the day out, and we'll wait for the next game, which is it Leeds away? Yeah.
Nah, it's Burnley away.
Burnley away. Yeah. I'm not paying too mind to that match, just because the last game we played there, certain Davinson Sanchez, I think did he face plant there?
Face planted by
Yeah. I'm good, man.
Apparently, that mark there's a face-sized mark in the penalty spot that's still there at the Etihad. Might be Sanchez's.
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Yeah, I think let's just enjoy the day out.
Yeah, trust.
Show you parts of the city, you know. It's just down. It's not too far from Rena. Put on a mank. Yeah, once you're in the tram, put on some mank accents when you're in the tram. Once you're out of it, go back to being yourself.
In all the time I've been there, in all the times I've been to the Etihad, I've only truly been happy once, and that was when we got through the Champions League. And even then, we lost on the night. Obviously, we went for an away goals, but we lost on the night. I've never seen us win at this ground. The first game I went to 6-0. The second game I went to 4-1. The third game I went to 4-1. And then the next game I went to, we lost 4-3. When am I going to see this team actually win at this ground?
The 4-1 against City in 2017, was it?
When Kevin De Bruyne slapped it.
Yeah. That showed the Bozo gene the most, because the goal we conceded, the Gundogan header from a set piece.
Yeah,
they didn't even have to work hard for that. That's what annoyed me the most. Because City, the best team in the country, just simple set piece header. It's like, at least let them play around you. Yeah. That annoyed me. That showed the Bozo gene the most to me.
Yeah, Bozovirus galore, man. I remember that game. Kieran Trippier, Leroy Sané cooked him and sent this guy to the pits of hell with that. absolutely and dashed him with Hades and them, man, in the underworld, man. Jesus Christ, he ripped him to shreds. Tops, more on us. What do you think Antonio Conte can do different in this game to try and... I'm not going to say win or get a result, because let's be honest, the result is set in stone. But what do you think he can do to sort of get a better performance out of Spurs in comparison to what we saw against Southampton and Wolves?
Games like this, I just want us to do two things. I just want us to be compact defensively, because we know City are going to have a lot of the ball. So if it means just sitting our lines up to be very tight, making sure that we don't evade one-on-ones and we defend well. And then when we do have the ball, just transition clinically. That's it. I mean, like any team that goes generally to City, you're giving up 70% possession. And at this point, the way that we are at the moment, where I think our confidence level is quite low, I just want us to start the game well by defending like resolutely, very compact, and then when we do break in transition, just break clinically. I'm not asking for too much. Well, I am asking for too much, but I don't expect very much. That's all. That's all.
Jack, I'm going to come to you on this as well because Tops has made a great point, and I think the fact that we are going to be a side that aren't going to have, to be honest, we're not really a possession-based side, but the fact that we're going to have pretty much maybe 25 to 30% possession this game, I imagine 25 to 35% possession in this game, I imagine suggests that we will have to be really, really effective when we're in possession. Do you trust this team more to cope with the rigors that come with playing Man City at the Etihad in a 3-4-1-2 shape, in a 3-5-2 shape, in a 3-4-3 shape, in a 4-2-3-1 shape? What shape do you think will allow Spurs to defend better than we did against Wolves and Southampton, and also provide effective opportunities to break when we do get possession?
I don't know about shape, but if they can shape shift into good players, then maybe we have a chance. Because when you said the word trust, there isn't any. None of us, the three of us here, we don't trust any of these players, and they won't deliver. We know that, and I just feel we have to have our, the Lucases, maybe the Bergwines. We have to play to our strengths in terms of the game itself, which would be, pace on the break, which would be quick movement, quick release of the ball. And I think, if Winks can somehow be a good player and play the way he did against Liverpool, then maybe there's some glimmers of hope we'll have around the final third. Ultimately, I think, regardless whether we have that or not, we'll get battered. But I think those are the key parts that will, because our midfield's no chance. Our midfield is there to search and destroy. That's it, and to not let the back line even have the ball. That's their role. Our back line cannot be in possession of the ball. They cannot be blocking the ball. They just have to be there and stop runners. That's it.
And obviously, there are sources that are saying Oliver Skipp's injury is worse than feared. He looks like he may be potentially a doubt, and that looks like a big miss there. But guys, do you take any inspiration from how we set up against Man City when we beat them in the reverse fixture? Because in that game, there wasn't intricate build-up from the back. There wasn't a hugely expansive tactic. It was more a case of getting a lot of energy in the team and making sure that we never left City in compromising positions on the pitch in 1v1 situations. And when we did transition, we transitioned effectively well. And Lucas Moura, Bonehead City, he was actually probably our best player that game. I think offensively, I felt he was really good at taking it from defense to attack. Son did okay as well. Bergwijn, I don't think he played well, but in terms of ball carrying, I think he even showed a couple glimpses as well. So do you think this is a game now where ideally one of Bergwijn or Lucas Moura should start just for that threat in transition?
Yeah, I'd say so. The good thing about those two is that they both work extremely hard. And the way that they kind of play in terms of their profile, they don't mind the ball in that sort of half space transition sort of areas in the pitch. So, as long as we can get in behind players like Rodri and Gundo, when we do have the ball in those like right moments, yeah, sure, why not? I don't feel this is a tactic that suits Son. I don't think Son's very good, like on the turn or with his back to goal. So it's going to be difficult. I would like to see us go with three in midfield just to try and give them some sort of battle in terms of possession, as opposed to just giving up possession completely and allowing them to completely take the game. At least if we can match them, because I watched them the other week away to Norwich, And although Fernandinho is an excellent midfielder, I mean, he can always be got at. He can always be got at.
Is Rodri still injured?
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah, I was looking at their team because he didn't play yesterday either as well.
Yeah. I'm hearing rumours as well that Reguilon is not available, which is listen, Reguilon is not the bee's knees, but at the very least, he is miles better than anything else we have at left back, and that to me is a concern. But guys, good analysis. Now I'm going to ask you for predictions. What are we going for? Are we going for, in fact, let me shut up. Give me your predictions.
I'm going for -1 handicap.
This guy's such a betting name. Give me a scoreline, bro. So what? 1-0?
No, 2-0. 2-0.
2-0. Oh, okay. -1.
Yeah, 2-0.
Jack?
4-0 Man City. Is that? I don't think that's funny. I think that's quite a
No,
serious
I
scoreline.
think that's perfectly valid. I think that's perfectly valid. They scored 4 goals against us, probably twice in the last 4 league matches they've had against us at that ground. In fact, no, the last 5 league matches they've had against us at that ground. Actually, no, that's wrong. 3 or more goals in the last 5 league games they've had at that ground. I'm gonna go for 3-0. I think we're gonna try, maybe probably play a little bit better than or start a little bit better than we did against Wolves and Southampton. But
Yeah.
I think the quality will show through in the end, man. And I think we'll well and truly brushed aside. But hey ho, it'll be another trip to the Etihad, and me and Jack, I guess we'll be on our best or on our worst behaviour, hooligan wise.
Hey, listen,
It is what it is.
yeah.
It is what it is.
Manx can't fight anyway, so.
Right, lads, just over 1 hour, so it's time to end it there. For those who are still listening, make sure you subscribe to Touchline Fracas on all socials, Instagram, Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. For those who aren't aware as well, we've also got Touchline 5 right now, so it's 5-a-side football. Every Sunday we've got teams for every sort of big 6 side: Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United. Well, not got one for Man City yet. Liverpool, and then we've also got a rest of the world team for your Man Cities, for your West Hams, Evertons, etc. So whoever you support, if you're interested in playing with some of the cast members or just general listeners of the pod on Sundays, the 5-a-side, hit us up on the socials and we'll get that hooked up. Guys, thank you for hopping on. It's been a pleasure.
No problem, brother.
Always.
Stay blessed and don't let Spurs stress you too much. Take care.